All right, and we are here live with the 100 subscriber Q&A special. It's a little bit late because now I have 164 subscribers. So there's that. Sorry about that. But yeah, we are here to take questions. I'm going to take questions both from the chat as well as from my lovely co-hosts here, some of whom you may recognize from Rum Coke Night or various other Steve McRae hangouts. So say hi, everybody. Introduce yourselves. Introduce. We'll start with Steve. Yeah, Steve, introduce yourself.
Hi, Steve.
I'm Steve. I'm the one that has the Rum Coke nights.
Yep, there you go. All right, Biblical History Skeptics? Or Chris?
Hey, I'm Chris, Biblical History Skeptics. I don't do anything.
He really doesn't.
That's true. Well, you did a live stream with me earlier. Like, what, 2 weeks ago?
This is all I do.
Yeah.
It's just sitting right here.
Hey, that's respectable. Now to the guy who really doesn't do anything, we get Mikey.
Ouch.
I'm sorry, Mikey.
I was being nice to Mikey today, and yet you had to take up the mantle to beat me.
No matter what day it is, someone finds a space
time, right?
I don't get shit on me because fuck me, right?
Hey,
I love you, Mikey. You know I do.
At least it isn't me this time.
Yeah,
it is usually Chris. It is. I will say that it is usually Chris. I did not expect it from Steve. Good move, Steve. And Dapper.
Yeah. Well, and then we have Nikki.
Hi. I'm Steve Stalker. That's the only reason why I'm here.
Yup. If Steve's around, Nikki's got to be around. All right, we got Padme, who I think may be here.
Yep. I'm just a cat. I just kind of wandered in here. Don't pet me.
Okay.
And only I can pet Padme.
And we have the ever-famous Bent Hovind, no relation.
Unfortunately, no relation to Kent.
Bent. Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know the Dapper Dino in real life.
Yeah, we've hung out at each other's places.
Yep. I know what he looks like.
Yep.
What was the smell like?
Did it smell like tangerines and jasmine?
Pretty much. Just imagine what that top hat smells like. Like if it's never washed.
She knows that smell. She likes it.
I imagine
similar to that.
You know that smell you get in like the bottom of your sink when the disposal is not quite getting it done? I imagine what Dapper smells like.
Only my breath.
I'm being nice today, and yet everybody else is being the dick. I don't know. I don't think I like this freaky Friday thing, man.
All right, so we did get a question.
I want to know why it is that all of us are doing 95% of the work and Steve isn't.
Exactly,
5%, man.
Steve, up your game, or we're gonna kick you off Rum Coke.
I got no gamed up.
That's officially more game than Mikey then.
All right, but we did actually get a question from Unidentified Leviathan, and so I'm gonna let the chat know what the deal is. So I'm gonna take questions about stuff that my channel pertains to, whether it be evolution, paleontology, dinosaurs in general, 3D modeling, anything that you think is relatively relevant to my channel. I'll look at it, and if I think is relevant, I'll try to answer. And so the first question that we got that I think was relevant came in a bit before we went on air. It was from Unidentified Leviathan, and he asked what I know about Herrerasaurus. So Herrerasaurus is a late Triassic dinosaur, and it kind of bounces back and forth exactly where it fits in the dinosaur family tree. The general consensus is that it's probably a theropod, but every once in a while it gets put in as an extremely basal prosauropod. But the weird thing there is it would make it the only carnivorous prosauropod, and prosauropods are the long-necked dinosaurs and the other things that are close to being long-necked dinosaurs but aren't quite. Yeah.
Dapper. Can we get a couple more, words for us lay people?
Okay, so
big words too,
I know your big words. His big words are new to me and scary.
Hey, Dapper, say Paralipithecus catalonicus, motherfucker.
What was it? Parapithecus catalonicus?
Paralipithecus.
Paralipithecus catalonicus. I forgot a syllable in there. Yeah.
Paralipithecus.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. That's a stupid monkey.
Paralipithecus catalonicus.
That's a stupid monkey, so... Yeah. I can tell from its name.
It's a monkey.
Yep. So, okay, so backing up a little bit. So, theropods are the two-legged bitey dinosaurs.
Thank you.
There you go.
God damn it. Yes, bitey, two-legged. Thank you.
Yes. Sauropods are the big, long-necked things like Brontosaurus.
Question.
I'm with you.
Go ahead.
Don't two-legged and bitey also describe the average date with Mikey?
Well, I mean...
So there's an awesome feature on Zoom. If you mute your mic, you can hit spacebar to talk. And that's very good for me, so I can take it off and say...
So,
you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, so one of the reasons that Herrerasaurus is such an interesting dinosaur to me is because it's such an early dinosaur, it's so primitive that it's hard to figure out where it actually fits in kind of the dinosaur family tree, because it existed at a time when a lot of these distinctive characteristics hadn't really evolved. So, like, when you get into the Jurassic, it's obvious what's a theropod, what's a sauropod, what's...
Sauropod? What's a sauropod?
Sauropod are the long neck things like Brontosaurus or Apatosaurus.
Google is such a thing, Mikey. You can just Google that yourself.
But yeah, because it exists so early, it's even professionals in the field are just like, I don't really know what to do with Herrerasaurus. But so yeah, let's see some other nice things about Herrerasaurus. It's got 4 fingers, which is unusual for any dinosaur. Dinosaurs typically had 3, or if they had more than 3, the other ones were kind of stubby and lame.
Speaking of stubby and lame, biblical history.
Yeah, that's what they call me at school.
Okay.
Catholic school.
So, I mean, we can go into the weeds on Herrerasaurus, but I think that covers the interesting things about it as far as its place in why it's an important taxon.
So I think one thing that you're missing from this is maybe people new to this may not know enough about you, Dapper.
Me?
Where'd you get your name?
Okay.
It's clearly not from your avatar.
Also, are you a dinosaur?
Obviously, I'm a dinosaur. You can see my picture here. If you look at the YouTube.
Yeah, but is the top hat real?
Well, I mean,
that's
I have
CGI
to.
as a motherfucker. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So
that is not a real hat.
Here's the secret.
A globe Earth or something.
Just like the globe, I'm actually all CGI, and I'm actually a creation of NASA to be a NASA AI shillbot who goes around promoting the atheism, evolutionism, Satanism. That's the real truth.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I think you covered all the isms that we're supposed to believe in.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Well done.
Thank you. Oh, and globe earthism. I haven't really touched on that much, but I don't know. It's possible I'll get into it. I don't really have current plans, but I guess I can't rule it out. It's one of those things where it's like, it's at least as obvious that it's wrong as a lot of young Earth creationism, but I just don't care as much about debunking it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was a young Earth creationist. And that actually probably is it. So.
But are you in love?
No.
I feel like as an
I was in love once, but that was just her stripper name.
I feel like as an old world atheist, because you're a dinosaur, you've got some confessions to make here.
Confessions?
Like, yeah, you got to explain your flat eartherism and your CGIism and your young Earth creationism. Like, that's all you. That's all your channel is, from what I understand.
So before I was a NASA AI shellbot, I was in fact raised as a young Earth creationist, and actually, Dapper does not make, to answer a question from the chat, I do not actually make my religious views known on this channel. So I will not answer questions.
Satan.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm not going to answer the question as to whether I'm an atheist or not, or if I'm a Satanist or not, or Buddhist or Muslim or Christian, or...
What if we get you to 200 subs?
I still am not going to do it. It's one of the... So I'll actually...
300.
So here's the thing about
I
my
hide
channel.
my position too.
Yeah, sure you do. So here's the thing about it, right? This channel is for me to talk about science, and that's it. And I don't want people to know more about my personal views on things like politics and philosophy and religion than is necessary for that, because otherwise I feel like some people will start to make it about me and not about the science I'm discussing. And that's also the reason I don't put my face on there. It's not because I'm really hiding. It's just because I don't want it to be about me as a person.
See you. I'd keep your face hidden.
Yeah, well, there's
I
that
know what
too.
you look like. You're hiding.
Yeah, well.
Dude.
Hey, Cheshire said I was adorable.
Yeah. You
Cheshire's gone.
Well, you are adorable, but you're also hiding.
No fairness.
Cheshire,
also
she's a woman. We don't care about her opinion.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Cheshire's
I mean, but it's
gone.
Cheshire, though.
Cheshire's gone. You only have Mikey.
Yeah,
now.
she's not around. You don't have to
Gross.
be scared of her now.
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was. I did send her an invite just in case she was back or anything, but no worries there.
What'd you think? A pine cone had Wi-Fi out where she is? She can't hear us.
I don't know where she is. I mean, I know she's in the Great Frozen North normally, so. But yeah. So, the whole Dapper Dinosaur thing. Basically, I was looking for something related to dinosaurs because I like dinosaurs, and it was alliterated, and I like alliteration, so it worked. And then a while back, I made my first avatar, and I just made a Ceratosaurus because I like Ceratosaurus. I think it's a nice, cool-looking dinosaur.
Tell us more about Ceratosaurus, please.
Okay, so Ceratosaurus is an early to mid-Jurassic, and the dinosaur periods go first Triassic, then Jurassic, then Cretaceous. So we're kind of talking about the middle of the time period. And it was one of the relatively smaller theropods in the Morrison Formation. The Morrison Formation is a rock group around pretty much the whole pretty much the whole west, but not like the west coast of the United States, and it extends into southern Canada. It was a semi-arid environment, didn't get much rain, and it's not clear exactly what the prey of Ceratosaurus is because the Morrison Formation has what's called a strong taphonomic bias, and taphonomy is the study of how fossils become fossils. And the Morrison Formation has this bias towards very large bones. Small bones are very hard to find in the Morrison Formation, so it's likely that most of Ceratosaurus's prey simply didn't preserve. And so our picture of the Morrison Formation is extremely skewed compared to what it probably actually was. But Ceratosaurus is one of the less common and smaller predators in that environment. And as for unidentified Leviathan, why not Allosaurus? Honestly, it's the extra nose horn on Ceratosaurus is why I picked Ceratosaurus and not Allosaurus. That's all the whole reason.
I would have gone with the same thing. I agree. Yeah.
But actually, when I moved, my computer that stored all the files from my original avatar did not make it through that move, and I've been having a lot of trouble getting those files back. So for a while, I did actually have an Allosaurus avatar, but someone else had made it, and I bought it. And the one I'm using now is actually one that I've made for myself since I've gotten a new... Well, I started it with my laptop, and I finished it off with a new computer that I had built that could actually finish it off. And the person who assembled it is actually live on air with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bent.
Can we call you Sharptooth?
Hey, I got pizza for it, so.
You can. I might not answer to it, but, you know.
I think
can't stop you.
Sharptooth should be your nickname. Sharptooth.
So good books. So Maya asked, did I get 100 subs in 2 weeks? I had 100 subs actually almost 2 weeks ago. Or no, a week and a half-ish ago. It happened really fast, in large part due to Steve and Mikey and Nikki. Those are some big... And Chris helped me get up to the point where I was almost at the point of getting 100, which is why they gave me a sub drive. So... a large portion of the reason that I have so many subs now is sitting here with me. So thank you very much, guys. I can't say how much I appreciate that.
You deserve it, you son of a bitch.
I bribe
Thank
people.
So some books about dinosaur. Actually, one book I'm going to recommend that isn't actually technically about dinosaurs is Pterosaurs by, I think it's Mark Whitten. And that book is excellent. In fact, it's so good that it sometimes is cited in actual academic papers about pterosaurs that are being published because it collects so much of the pterosaur information that's hard to find otherwise. That
You're talking over heads again. What's the difference between a pterosaur and a dinosaur? I thought that was
There's
just
a good
flying
question.
dinosaur.
So pterosaurs are actually closely related to dinosaurs, but they are distinguished by a few different traits. So pterosaurs and dinosaurs are both in a group called Ornithodira. That's basically all the pterosaurs and dinosaurs, and anything that's closer to a pterosaur or a dinosaur than it is to anything else. So dinosauriforms, dinosauromorphs, pterosaurs, the hypothetical pterosauriforms, I suppose. The distinguishing characteristic for Ornithodira, the biggest one, is that the ankle only bends in one direction, just like your knee only bends in one direction. Their ankle does the same thing.
Ew.
Sorry. Dinosaur
Their ankle
ankles
goes backwards?
No, it just only goes in one direction, like an elbow or a knee.
Oh, okay.
So it only swings.
That's fucking nasty.
Yeah. So it only swings in what's called the sagittal crest, which is sagittal plane. Sorry, which is the plane that you would get if you like divided your head down the middle, down the nose, and kept going down your body. That's the sagittal plane. So the ankles are
like
locked.
Mikey, it only swings one way.
Right. Exactly.
Not a bad thing. That's just.
I'm getting
It's not a bad thing. That's just the way it is right now.
So, but pterosaurs, which is one of the major sides of Ornithodira as opposed to dinosaurs, one of the biggest distinguishing characteristics is very obvious when you look at them, is that their fourth finger is gigantic and it supports a wing membrane, which is actually how they flew. So bats, they put their second, third, fourth, and fifth fingers into a big wing. Well, pterosaurs don't have a fifth finger, and the fourth one supports pretty much the entirety of the wing membrane, and then the wing membrane goes back to connect farther down on the body, either near the hips or maybe the ankles. It probably varied from species to species. So, they also have a few other smaller distinguishing characteristics. The most important one is the presence of a prepubic bone. So their pubis has another bone anterior to it that helps support flight muscles, and that's a unique bone to Pterosauria. They also have what's called a pteroid bone, which comes out of their wrist, and it helps support the wing membrane, also unique to pterosaurs. They also have a structure called a notarium, which isn't entirely unique, but it only also occurs in very advanced birds. Which,
like what? What is that? Wait! You're going past us.
Okay, I'm going to explain.
What's a terration? What is that?
A notarium is a bone that is a collection of basically vertebrae fused together with a few other dermal bones that provide support for the upstroke muscles on a pterosaur. Birds have
flaps.
Right.
Upstroke muscles?
Right.
Is such a thing?
Yes, that's a thing.
I know Steve's upstroke muscles are like.
Do you do Kegels for those?
No, actually, you don't need Kegels for those. But so those are the things that make a pterosaur.
He invited us on. He knew what he was getting himself into.
It's true. So a dinosaur has a few other distinguishing characteristics. The biggest one is that their acetabulum, which is where their femur sockets into the hip, it's actually just a ring of bone. It's not a little like a socket of bone like yours is. So if you look at most mammals, or actually basically anything that isn't a dinosaur, the acetabulum is actually sort of like
what?
Acetabulum. It's where the femur goes into the hip.
Femur
is your thigh bone.
Okay.
Right. So it's that part of the hip where the femur sits inside and it forms that joint.
Is there going to be a pop quiz on this at the end of the hangout?
No.
I'm learning.
Hey, yeah.
Quit your dick.
I'm curious. Go
to a museum, Mikey.
I don't need a fucking museum. I have Dapper Dino and I'm subbed.
Exactly.
So what's good?
Very true.
So
you should be touching your hip and your apsinospium while he's saying it.
So in dinosaurs, this socket of bone, instead of being a socket, is just a ring of bone. And the middle part doesn't actually have any bone in it. And that's unique to dinosaurs. There are a few other things. There are some details of the palate of the jaw, like the upper jaw. It's strongly fused and it has a particular configuration. Their ankle bones have a particular shape. But those are all
like
kind
Nikki.
of... Well, yeah. Hey, we all have a particular shape. I'm shaped like a dinosaur.
By the way, not Mikey, there's a word for that position where you have your hands on your hip and you're out like this. Do you know what that's called? There's actually a word for it, believe it or not. I'm going to teach you something. Since I know doing all this other stuff. They call it a akimbo position.
Did you know what that was, Nikki?
A kimbo. You learned something from me too, people.
Akimbo is a good word.
Kimbo. Kimbo is called a Kimbo.
So, okay, we've officially gotten Steve's 5% contribution.
5%, exactly. Thank you.
Officially, yeah. So he can get off the stream in perpetuity.
But I'd also say back to there was a book question. I will also say I believe it was Dinosaurs: The Grand Tour. I'm gonna Google it just to make sure.
Nikki, Google it.
What?
Yeah, Dinosaurs: The Grand Tour is always a fun one. Some of the reconstructions are a little bit outdated.
What do you want me to Google?
But it has some. For a layperson, it's a very nice overview. If you want to get into like serious study of paleontology and dinosaurs and stuff, you're gonna want to go and look at the textbooks.
Your channel.
Well, okay,
look
sure.
at your channel.
My channel, but for books, you're gonna want to look at things like first textbooks that are actually used in paleontology classes, and then also you're going to want to start actually reading papers, because new dinosaurs are described in academic papers that go into academic journals. So those are two recommendations that I would say. If you want to start out learning about dinosaurs and pterosaurs, check those out. They're both... The pterosaurs one is a bit more academic. You're going to want to have already known some comparative anatomy terms. Like, you'll want to know what anterior, posterior, ventral, dorsal, distal, proximal, lateral, medial. You'll want to know those words, and if you don't already, online there are a whole bunch of comparative anatomy primers that you can find. So it's not too hard to do that. Okay, let's see. Ken Hoven says humans rode dinosaurs. Which types were best to ride, and did they have dino races? I'm going to have to go ahead and say that a lot of predator-prey interactions were probably essentially dino races. But if I had to pick a dinosaur to ride, other than an ostrich...
No, you can't choose ostrich.
Why not? Why can't I choose ostrich, Dinky?
Because it's dumb. That's a dumb choice.
Well, what if I pick it anyway?
How about an emu?
They're a little small.
What is it, caraway?
Yeah, they're tiny.
Cassowary?
Cassowary.
Yeah, no, a cassowary will just kill you.
They'll kill you.
Yeah.
Steve pulls up. Hey, check out my new. Oh God! Oh, it's got a horn on its fucking face.
Bird.
For real? It's like as hard as diamond or some crap like that. It's crazy.
It's just gonna be one of those hold my beer moments.
So I would say the larger ornithopods would probably be a good option. Ornithopods include animals like Iguanodon and Parasaurolophus and Myosaurus.
Iguanodon, I like that.
Yeah. So the reason I picked that is because they were what's called facultative bipeds. So they could be bipeds sometimes, but most of the time they were quadrupeds. And so
Iguanodons?
Yeah. So
shit.
Yeah. So most of these
it's an herbivore. Why would you want to ride an herbivore?
Because I'm looking at things like, well, first of all, most of the animals that people ride are herbivores, Dinky. That's a thing.
Yeah, I know.
Like
no one rides cheetahs.
Right.
No, they don't, man.
So
men do.
There's a few reasons. One is I think that when it's walking on all four legs, you'd probably get a reasonably smooth ride. But then when it picked up the two front legs and started just running on the back legs, you could actually get some good speed going.
That's like a fucking bull just like running on two legs. That's terrifying.
Yeah, but then again,
or a bear.
If you look at the animals themselves, their hind legs were much larger than their front legs, and their back actually sloped down anteriorly. So
like a drag car.
I guess a little bit. But
like their butts all sticking up because their back legs are too long?
Yeah, well the back legs are too long. So yeah. For that reason, that was one of the ways that they could actually get the front legs up, is because, they could start running forward, and their forward momentum would help balance them out. So,
are they around the same time as like the galloping crocodiles, or?
Unfortunately, no. The galloping crocodiles were pretty late into the Cenozoic. That's actually a fairly recent animal. That's
a thing.
Yeah, there was a crocodile that galloped on
terrifying.
hooves.
Oh, what the
There's that one?
Hell no!
Right?
Hell no!
There's the galloping crocodiles, and then there's another one, and it's the biggest carnivorous dinosaur of all time. And it looked like a crocodile too.
Well,
Spinosaurus.
Spinosaurus and Giganotosaurus go back and forth for biggest dinosaur. If you're gonna go based on height, Giganotosaurus probably wins. If you're gonna go on mass, Spinosaurus probably wins. So
okay.
So
the Spinosaurus,
if I had to
they
choose
lived
an
in
animal to
water.
ride, though, like if I had to choose one of these creatures to ride, I'm choosing Sarcosuchus.
Because it can go in the water?
No, just because it's a giant crocodilian.
Okay, but it's also not a dinosaur.
I don't care. It's 8.8 tons. It's going to eat your
Fair
dinosaurs alive anyway.
I have a question that's more really, I think what really people want to know.
All right, but 1 second. I want to answer one question from chat.
No.
So it's what do dinosaurs taste like? I
That's
like
my question.
Oh, is it really?
I didn't even look at the chat. I'm actually doing something really different.
All right.
My question was going to be, if you could pick a dinosaur to eat and taste, which one would it be?
Oh, obviously Meleagris.
Obviously,
Nikki.
yeah. Thank you very much.
Nikki's the obvious
But actually,
choice.
Bent has an answer to this question too. Bent, what would
I
be
prefer Gallus domesticus.
There you go.
Gallus, is that a chicken?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a red fowl, isn't it?
Best at jazz hands.
Yeah, but my answer of Meleagris is more specifically Meleagris galapavo, which is the North American turkey.
Yeah, Felis Meligagros. Felis Mele. God, I hate that.
No, that would be a cat. Meleagris galapavo.
Yeah. Well, the reason I said Felis because I had a friend, a dear friend of mine. Her name was Jade. She actually.
I
took a cat.
Well, yeah. Whatever the Latin nonsense is for pheasant, that would be my pick.
But so as far as dinosaur tastes, dinosaurs are archosaurs. That's just a taxonomic grouping. And it also includes crocodiles and alligators, as well as modern birds, which are a kind of dinosaur. So I would say that the most likely answer is that depending on the lifestyle of the dinosaur and which part of it you're eating, it would probably either taste like a cross between chicken and alligator or turkey and alligator. Turkey and alligator, if it's more of a long distance kind of it's going to either migrate long distances or always be on the move, something like Brachiosaurus probably had to keep on the move in order to keep getting new food because it would probably exhaust local areas.
Like elephants.
Right, exactly. But if it was something that was quick and only had to move quickly sometimes, like maybe an ambush predator, like maybe Allosaurus was, it would probably taste more like a combination of chicken and alligator.
So what's the worst thing you've seen in like the Jurassic Park movies?
As far as accuracy goes or as far as storytelling goes?
No, the storytelling we all know.
Okay. So for accuracy, I know some people want me to say it's the lack of feathers because there's an almost complete lack of feathers.
Yeah, what do you mean almost? I don't know if there's any dinosaur with feathers.
The Jurassic
number 3.
The Jurassic World 3 raptors had some feather quills, as did Indominus Rex in Jurassic World.
See?
Yeah.
They fixed it.
No, they didn't. Not even close. But I'm actually going to say the position of the theropod hands. So basically in every theropod, the palms, if they were just kind of resting by the side, would be facing each other as if the animal was going to like clap, as opposed to the bunny arms position that you see for all. Right, Mikey's got it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So their hands were the wrong way.
Yeah. So that's actually my biggest pet peeve is because that was something that was known even back when the first Jurassic Park movie was made. When the first Jurassic Park movie was made, the idea that like dromaeosaurs like Velociraptor were feathered was still kind of it certainly wasn't as well confirmed as it is now, and it was still sort of a fringe idea at the time. So, yeah, and the idea
definitely wasn't any evidence for T-Rex with feathers yet.
There still is actually. That's a question that just came up in the chat. Is T-Rex feathered or not? So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to go to Nikki. So T-Rex, we have some small skin impressions from a few areas, and they don't show any feathers. But there are also areas where in other dinosaurs that did have some feathers weren't feathered. So right now, as far as I'm concerned, it's up in the air enough that I am okay with either reconstruction, whether it be feathers or no feathers. But you can't put feathers on the areas where we know they didn't have them, which is all those areas where we have skin impressions. So
like their butt.
Actually, no, that's one of the areas where you can put feathers.
Oh, gross. Stinky butt T-Rexes with feathers on them.
All right. Nikki, what you got?
Okay, so even if they were inaccurate in some ways, to me, it was definitely well worth it, though, because, and I've read this, it was a whole thing, I don't really have cited sources, so this could be incorrect, but I heard that Michael Bay, the director of that movie, I forget the name of the director.
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so dumb. I'm sorry. But I heard that he actually funneled a ton of money into paleontology. Mm-hmm. Like, they basically just put a whole bunch of paleontologists in a room and said, just go at it, research these dinosaurs, give me the best dinosaurs that you possibly can. And because of that movie, we actually discovered a whole bunch of shit about dinosaurs because he was so concerned with having realistic and accurate dinosaurs.
I definitely think that the Jurassic Park was a boon for paleontology because it increased it increased both awareness and interest in dinosaurs, and it brought Jurassic Park introduced the best paleontology of the late 80s to the mid 90s. Mm-hmm. At a time when most people's idea about dinosaurs came from the best paleontology of the 1920s. It brought forward the public's perception of dinosaurs at least, 60 or 70 years in time as far as paleontology is concerned.
So can you speak on that difference between like pre-Jurassic Park, what we all knew is just like the Harry Munchausen films where there was like the claymation. Steve, you know what I'm talking about. Where it was like the Triceratops fight and the T-Rex and all that shit. We just kind of...
So there were Jason and the Argonauts.
Right, yeah.
I love that movie.
Look, I'm not going to talk bad about anything that Ray Harryhausen did because I'm a big Ray Harryhausen fan.
Sure.
You know what? I've actually been thinking about making my own 3D model of Rhodosaurus, which was the monster he made for the Beast from 20,000 Leagues, which is one of his first movies. I think it was his second movie right after Mighty Joe Young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mighty Joe Young makes me cry to this day.
Wait, the original or the remake?
Original. Fuck it. I gotta go. Dapper's over here fucking insulting me. Son of a bitch. That's the original.
Okay. So... What? I just lost... Oh, right. About the old dinosaur depictions. So, the biggest thing that people took away from those older depictions were that dinosaurs were relatively slow, lizard-like creatures that either were quadrupeds or they stood upright, kind of like kangaroos with their tails dragging, except that unlike kangaroos, they didn't hop, they just kind of lumbered around. And Jurassic Park shifted the posture of all those bipedal dinosaurs correctly to be horizontal, like we see like with my Ceratosaurus or with the T-Rex or the raptors that you see in Jurassic Park, which is the correct position. And it also got people into the idea that dinosaurs were active creatures that would run around and leap on things and climb and chase stuff. Yeah, they weren't just gigantic crocodiles that laid around doing nothing until prey wandered under their nose and then they just snapped it up.
It's just so amazing because it's like if you were to get something like a mammal that size, like if it could even exist, it couldn't do that. Let alone run, and then you have these massive lizards, basically reptiles. I'm sorry, it just blows my mind. I've learned so much stuff recently about dinosaurs.
Simple math blows your mind, Nikki.
Anything blows my mind. Okay, I'm dumb. Sorry.
So Godless Galaxy asks.
I gotta give her love.
Aww. Godless Galaxy asks, is Godzilla versus T-Rex? Unless there's just an infinite number of T-Rexes, it's hard for me to say that Godzilla is not going to win that. I'm a Godzilla fan. I think that the most recent Godzilla movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters, might end up being my favorite film in 2019, just because I'm such a big Godzilla fan. But even without that, so at his smallest, Godzilla is a 50-meter tall thing that can breathe fire and is immune to bullets. Not just immune to bullets, T-Rex. He's immune to tank shots.
Good luck.
50 meters tall and immune to tanks and missiles. What are you gonna do?
How tall was T-Rex?
So T-Rex, I'm actually just gonna look it up so I don't give the wrong information. I know.
Dapper doesn't know.
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah, you should probably unsub.
Immediately.
God damn.
While Dapper's looking that up, I think my biggest pet peeve with depiction of dinosaurs in Jurassic Park was Dilophosaurus.
Is that the one with the
Oh yeah, so
because he had a rattlesnake rattle attached to his body,
and it was way too small, and there's no reason to look.
It was supposed to be bigger than that.
Dilophosaurus was probably about the same size as a human.
Yeah, basically. Dilophosaurus was about 2 meters tall, maybe 1.7.
So, wait, is that the one that killed Newman?
Yeah.
It was that big.
No,
it was crouched.
No,
it was crouched.
It was smaller than the Velociraptors in the movie, and they were about 2 meters tall.
Yeah.
But the Velociraptors aren't really Velociraptors.
The Velociraptors were like the size of a turkey in real life.
Yeah. It's the Velociraptors they portrayed. Those are actually the size of Utah Raptors. Am I right about that, Doug?
Yeah, they're about the same size as actual Utah Raptors or Dakota Raptors, although the remains for Dakota Raptor are still pretty fragmentary, so it's harder to say with that one. But if you scale up what we have, or with what's common for the family, then it turns out the Dakota Raptor was probably similar in size to Utah Raptor.
Dude, fuck that. Those things are actually no, fuck that.
Yeah. So
I'm not finishing my time machine.
But yeah, so
dude, I would so love one though. Oh my god.
You're not fucking Chris Pratt. They're gonna eat your little ass.
No, I want like a pet Velociraptor, like a little turkey-sized one. That'd be so freaking cool. Oh my god.
They'd probably still eat your ass.
So a T-Rex.
Although I would love them to like. It sucks that they don't have realistic depictions because of the feathers are missing. I would love to see a Jurassic Park dinosaur with feathers, like. Oh, that's like the worst part is I want to see the colors and shit that they come up with and everything.
Okay, so think of a cockatiel with teeth. Fuck that. No.
All right. So I have a few answers. So T-Rex was. They varied, and we're not sure what the maximum size is, but about 6-ish meters is a pretty good estimate for a normal size T-Rex.
Oh shit, that's still pretty big.
Oh yeah, but it's not nearly as big as 50.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Fuck.
So what about the T-Rex from Kung Fury versus Godzilla? I still say that because Godzilla has the atomic breath and the Kung Fury T-Rex is still significantly smaller than Godzilla, I'm still going to have to hand it to Godzilla.
Of course.
So,
Godzilla.
Tokyo is screwed then. Oh no.
Oh yeah, well Tokyo's always screwed unless Well, so Godzilla often ends up actually being the savior of Tokyo.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
Godzilla's not a mean monster.
From the even worser monster.
Right. I mean, when it comes to like, okay, we got Godzilla, or we've also got King Ghidorah and Gigan. Well, you take Godzilla.
Did you just say Ghidorah?
Was that the Mothra? No, Mothra was the
Mothra.
Mothra helps too. Although in the movie where in the movie where Ghidorah or however you want to pronounce it, because it goes back and forth in the dubs, and Gigan both fought Godzilla. His ally in that one was Anguirus. So
is that the Hydra? Which one's the Hydra?
Well, Ghidorah has 3 heads, so that's probably who you're thinking of.
Okay.
Are you one of those people that thinks Godzilla was just misunderstood?
Yes.
Well, Godzilla's one of those people who thinks Godzilla was misunderstood. There's a movie where he has a whole conversation about it with Mothra and Anguirus, and
Mothra is always good though.
No, she wasn't. Not in her first movie.
Yes,
Okay, she was.
No, it wasn't Mothra's fault that those humans stole her people or whatever.
That's true.
No. Revenge, like
that's
completely 100%.
Okay,
it was absolutely
fair enough. But she's still the antagonist of the film.
Mm-hmm. So what? She's not evil though. She was bad.
I'll give you that.
She's never been bad.
She's not evil, but
she was just rescuing her peeps.
Yeah, but at one point there's a conversation between it was Rodan, Anguirus, Godzilla, and Mothra in one of the movies in the Showa era, and Godzilla is asked, "Why do you hate the humans so much?" And he's like, "Because they always shoot at me and blow things up in my face. All I want to do is walk around and absorb radiation."
See,
Rodan was the pterodactyl thingy, right?
Yeah.
It always made me so sad when they attack him.
They all want radiation.
Leave him alone.
Isn't it? Because we're all mutated from like Hiroshima or something like that.
You know what makes me sad? Every single time I have to see Matthew Broderick's face.
Oh my god. Okay, we're not going to talk about the Matthew Broderick quote unquote Godzilla movie.
Quote unquote.
I didn't watch it. I'm sorry.
Oh, don't
Matthew
watch it.
Broderick?
Yeah.
I don't watch Matthew Broderick films.
Definite skip.
Hey, Ferris Bueller's
Day
Day
Off
Off
was
with
The only Matthew Broderick anything worth watching is Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
which was a good
just
movie.
for the
Oh,
reference.
yeah.
In the 80s.
Matthew Broderick, yeah.
Skip.
No, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a classic. You should watch
I
it.
prefer War Games.
Skip that one too.
Ben, don't you have a question for me? I thought you had like 3 or 4 or 8. I don't know.
Well, you kind of answered one.
Which one was that?
So I wanted to ask you a question. So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
You were supposed to warn me for things like that.
It's a gotcha question.
Okay, so the reason he's asking this question is because that's a question I asked Kent Hovind.
Word for word.
Word for word. He wrote it down. And anyone want to guess what Kent Hovind's answer was?
I don't know. I'd have to research that.
Basically,
That's
yeah.
pretty close,
Yeah. He said, well, I don't know. That's an interesting question. I guess I'd have to do some research on that. Which is an admission, and I know, Unidentified Leviathan, that you're going to disagree with me a bit on this, but as far as I'm concerned, that's an admission that, quote-unquote, Dr. Dino doesn't actually know what a dinosaur is.
Shocking.
So, I know. So, the way you identify any...
Hey, guess what? Flat Earthers don't know what gravity is either.
That's true. But they don't call themselves Dr. Gravity.
I'm sure there's one.
There might be.
I'll search Twitter right now.
Pick that idea, Dr. Gravity.
Yeah, so if you're a flat earther out there, go call yourself Dr. Gravity, because that'll be great.
Make sure you get your 5%.
Oh yeah, well obviously.
I think
and a writer's credit.
I think Rule 34 of the internet can be construed to also apply to flat earthers. If you think of it, there's a flat earther for it.
All right, that's like a sub rule. That's like Rule 34A.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. But to actually seriously answer the question, because I think it's an interesting question, the way you identify any animal as part of a taxonomic group is by identifying, at least in the fossil record, where we can't do genetic analysis, is by identifying what are called the synapomorphies of that group. And synapomorphies is a term that means the derived traits from evolution that group all shared from its most recent common ancestor. So, for instance, one of the synapomorphies that I already mentioned for dinosaur is that open acetabulum, where there's just a ring of bone rather than a socket for the hip joint. So that's one way. If I saw a hip on this animal that I'm studying, and it doesn't have a socket of bone, but rather just a ring, that's a dead giveaway. There's also other things like if the anterior-medial corner of the astragalus, which is an ankle bone, is acute, it's another giveaway. If the fourth trochanter of the femur, which is the ridge on the femur at the back that attaches to the caudofemoralis longus muscle, which is the main retractor for the femur, if that's asymmetrical on the femur, that's another dead giveaway. If it has an extra small
penis.
No, because you're not going to find too many penises in the fossil record. But all dinosaurs by default have an antorbital fenestra, which is a hole in the skull forward of the eye socket. But some of them also have an extra hole forward of that in the eye socket, but before the nose. That's another dead giveaway, but it's also going to put us squarely in the theropod category, which is, the two-legged bitey kind. Let's see, what are some other good ones? The presence of more than 3 sacral vertebrae that are fused to the sacral arch in the hip is an important one. But that's one that has to coincide with other characteristics of this animal. Like I'd probably also have to see that it's a diapsid, or that it has dorsal vertebrae that go all the way down to the hips. Because some other animals, especially some mammals, also have a similar condition. And so if the fossil isn't in good condition, you want to make sure that it's also already in one of the larger categories before you use that as diagnostic. Let's see. If I found the radius and ulna were locked together by a groove in the radius so that they couldn't rotate relative to each other, that'd be a pretty big giveaway. There's a pretty characteristic way that digits are shaped in dinosaurs, where they almost look like a chain link, like on a bike or something, where one fits very closely into a semicircular groove on the next one. and they rotate that way. If I saw that, that would probably tell me it's probably a dinosaur. It's not completely diagnostic, but it's a good clue. I mean, that pretty much covers the things that I would probably look for to see if a skeleton is a dinosaur skeleton.
So if Kent had said all of those things, he might have some credibility?
He would have a lot of credibility, and also he would have also gone along with the ways in the way of determining that birds are dinosaurs, which is the topic of the debate.
Interesting.
How does he actually think that humans and dinosaurs could ever possibly live together?
He doesn't. He's lying.
Well, he might be lying. I'm not sure.
How would he be lying? I don't think that he's smart enough to lie about that.
Well, the thing is, I actually don't think that Kent Hovind is particularly unintelligent, and the reason I don't think that is because he can do things that I don't think it's easy for a genuinely stupid person to do. Like, he's actually pretty good at controlling a debate and keeping the in terms that he wants to go into.
Equal time.
Well, not just the equal time thing. He's actually pretty good at directing the debate into topics that he wants to talk about, as opposed to the topics that are actually under debate. And I don't think that's the sign of a stupid person. I think if you were honestly stupid, you would have a hard time shifting the topic away from areas where you're weak into areas where you feel like you're strong. He also is actually pretty good at keeping on his feet in terms of having a response. It's usually a scripted response, but he knows exactly which scripted response to go to every time. He also has managed to build himself a little compound out in Alabama, all free of charge to him. So that you gotta have something going for you if you can do that.
That comes with the territory of being a Christian. Like people will.
I know a lot of Christians who don't have their own compound in rural Alabama.
I would beg to differ. Like I know of this guy. He actually is out here.
Okay.
His name is Andrew Womack, and he's trash, and I hate him. But he's out in Colorado, and he's had 5 buildings donated to him, just donated or basically given to him at a super, super low price. It's crazy how much people will give to fucking preachers. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's all right. So I
know that.
I do agree that people will give to preachers, including ones who are. I do think there are a lot of preachers. I think most preachers are probably honest people who are trying to do what they see as right and trying to better the lives of their congregants. But there are also a lot of scammers out there. And I think the scammers do have a pretty easy time getting away with what they get away with and getting people to donate to them for no good reason. But I actually still think that just getting to that point where you can actually run a good scam is itself something that you have to have some kind of brain power to do.
Sure.
But so I don't actually know if Kent Hovind is lying or if he's dumb or if he honestly believes it due to just extreme confirmation bias.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, if he actually doesn't believe it, then I don't know.
Well,
if he actually does believe in the stuff that he believes in, I mean, to be fair, there are so many people who do actually believe it. So even if he doesn't, it's not like it matters. I mean, he's contributing to the
I'll say this.
stupidity of how many people.
I don't know if Kent Hovind is dishonest about his positive beliefs.
Yeah.
But I do think he knows that he's strawmanning other people when he gives his definitions of evolution and talks about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't imagine that he doesn't know that those are strawman arguments.
Yeah.
So I do think there is some dishonesty, but I don't know that he's dishonest as a creationist, as in terms of the positive claims. Like, does Kent Hovind honestly think the Earth is 6,000 years old? I don't know. Does Kent Hovind honestly think that evolution says something about kinds becoming other kinds and that it's a religion? No, I don't think he thinks that at all. I think he just says that because at this point, if he backs down on it, he'll lose followers.
Yeah.
He's too deeply invested in the lie at this point.
And, yeah. And look,
not just that, but hot dates too. How many women has he married now?
I think he's on 3.
3? Oh, okay. Actually, I thought he was on 4 or 5.
Actually, he's married 246010642.
Dash
52-017. That's how many women.
Is that Kyle?
No, that was his prison number. That was Kent's prisoner number when he was in federal prison in the state of Florida.
Got him.
Here's one. Have there always been dinosaurs or a conspiracy thing? Or is that a modern thing? So, it's not a terribly old thing, but the modern version of that, I think, is mostly just a troll operation. But there was a period of time when creationism was really just getting started in like the 60s or maybe the late 50s, where there were some people who were saying that fossils were just put in the ground by the devil to convince you God weren't real.
People still say that.
So, well, it's becoming extremely uncommon for people to say that now. Yeah. Most people have shifted to the young Earth idea or the old Earth idea, where either there was some kind of sequential creation if you're an old Earther, or there was a flood that is the cause of all these fossils if you're a young Earther. I feel like the idea of the people who are actually saying that dinosaurs are literally a hoax or were put there by Satan, there aren't very many.
Didn't Kent say something along those lines, though?
I don't remember him ever having said that. I think
he said something like, if I were God, then I would put stuff like dinosaurs in the ground to test people's faith.
I wouldn't put it past him, but I don't remember him ever saying that, and he changes his stuff so little, I feel like I would have seen it by now.
Yeah, he wasn't one of the ones that that was started with a chick track back in the day.
Well, he consulted on a chick track, though.
He but I don't think that I don't know if that was actually a narrative that he actually put out himself. I followed him a long time too.
Godless Galaxy says he has a diagram to show the periods of creationist phrases. If you could link to that maybe in the comments or something, that would be very interesting to see, and I would probably put it in a videos at some point.
I'm playing Gatekeeper for you, so if anybody needs to get a hold of Dapper in this current moment, hit me up on Twitter.
He likes to play this game.
Yeah,
he likes to be the gatekeeper.
Yeah, he just needs to find the right keymaster.
And it ain't Nikki.
Gatemaster. Keymaster. Wait, no, what is that?
It's Gatekeeper. Are you the keymaster?
Yeah. There is no Dana, only
the form of your destroyer.
Well, obviously, if I choose the form of my destroyer, it's either going to be a dinosaur or it's going to be Godzilla.
Yeah, choose the form of your destructor.
Right, destructor.
Of the destructor.
The destructor. All right. We'll have to get a copy of the script.
On it.
Okay, get a copy of the Ghostbusters script. Yeah, Kent, I'm pretty sure, still thinks that all the dinosaurs were buried in the flood, which is... It's so far from what is actually possible that it's hard to overstate it. That idea is definitely on par with anything from the Flat Earth people.
Have you heard of Discount Kent Hovind?
Oh yeah, that Cirrus has a bunch of those.
Cirrus, yeah, and Cirrus
and Logic and Cirrus did a collab on it. Yeah.
I love Logic so much, but
Discount Hovind, he really is just a Discount Hovind because he just repeats Hovind's material, but even worse than Eric does.
His name's Eric Hovind. Yeah.
No. There's a guy who's worse than Eric Hovind at it. Yeah. Eric Hovind
discount versions of Hovind.
Eric Hovind is like Kent Hovind light. But this guy is like store brand Hovind.
Yeah, he's
the Equate version.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's saying at one point he said that there's no such thing as the Bronze Age because there's no bronze in the strata or something.
Oh, because it's an alloy?
No. He said that there's no Bronze Age because we haven't found bronze in the strata.
Because there's no stratum of just bronze.
I swear to God, it was strata. It was like
that is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. Oh,
the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That really is Flurf level crazy. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that.
That's dumber than me.
Oh man.
Wow, that is
right. No, I feel you.
So here's something interesting. You know how the Iron Age came after the Bronze Age?
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Is that in the strata?
No, but it's in the strata archaeologically. But the weird thing is,
this is backed up by science.
For pretty much every purpose that you can think of, bronze is actually a better metal than iron. So then the question becomes, well, then why do people switch from bronze to iron? And the answer is because once you learn to smelt iron, it's so much easier and so much more common that you can actually use it for things. Whereas the best metal that you could make was bronze and you couldn't make iron, the only things you made out of metal were super expensive and only could be used for very specialized things. That's why you find bronze armor and bronze knives and swords, but you don't find a whole lot of bronze cups or bronze plates. They're still making those things out of wood. It's because, iron is just so much easier once you figure it out. So they actually downgraded in order to get more metal availability.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, because bronze, it doesn't rust. Right. Bronze doesn't rust. It actually holds an edge better and longer than iron. It's slightly less hard, but unless you're making like a file or something, that doesn't matter a whole lot. It's a bit more malleable, so it's actually easier to work. But yeah, it's just really, it's just, all metals are malleable.
My butt is though.
Oh, your butt is. Well, as your butt metal? It might be.
A small percentage.
No,
small percentage.
It's not metal.
Yeah.
Small percentages, yes.
There's probably some calcium in there. Calcium is a metal. Or is it a transition metal? Is it a transition metal?
No.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a transitional metal.
I thought it was a transition metal, yeah.
No, my butt is.
Oh, your butt is a transition metal? Okay.
Titanium butt.
I don't know. Chemistry isn't my strong point, so yeah.
She has a cadmium ass. Everyone knows.
Cadmium ass. All right, so bronze was made of copper and tin, right? Yes, this is Mr. Serious. So you had so it was hard to find two metals to make bronze. Yeah, that was basically the thing.
Yeah,
iron,
an alkali earth metal. Yeah, I looked it up.
Alkali. Okay,
that makes sense.
So
I wasn't thinking. Yeah, it would be an earth metal.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the thing about bronze was you had to find copper and tin and smelt them both and put them together, and it was a whole big thing. Whereas iron, once you learn to smelt it, you just dig it straight out of the ground and smelt it down. But
smelt it.
Yeah.
That's a good word, smelt.
It is a good word. But let's see. Any other questions from
Dealt it. Yeah.
So I'm not seeing too many questions right now from chat. So does anyone else in the Hangout have one?
Well, Bob Knob asked earlier, what color is Godzilla?
Oh, so Godzilla is almost always kind of a charcoal gray. The Hanna-Barbera Godzilla was very bright green. The Godzilla animated series that was a follow-up to the 8 Matthew Broderick film. I think he was a bit green tinged. And Godzilla also had a dark green coloration in several of the Millennium series movies. But other than that, he's pretty much always a dark gray. So there you go. There's what color is Godzilla?
Did you see the Godzilla shit on the anime shit on Netflix?
I did.
I was a fan.
I enjoyed them. I don't think they were as good as, say, Shin Godzilla or even the legendary Godzilla films. But Galaxy asked, "What's Nikki's channel?" Does Nikki have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's in the fetish section of Pornhub.
Oh, there you go. But
she will be on my channel very soon.
Okay. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make sure I get everyone's channel links and put them in the description for this, but it might be after the fact. So come back and check. Sorry. Let's see. What are your plans for the channel? So right now I am thinking about actually which topic to make my next video on. I'm currently considering the whole. I'm sure most people have heard people say, well, what good is half a wing? You know, what are you going to do with half a wing? And actually, there are some really good answers to that question. And we've never seen a creature with half a wing. Well, actually, we've seen quite a few creatures with half a wing, both in the fossil record and today. So I'm thinking about giving some examples of what you can do with half a wing, why you might evolve an arm or a leg into half a wing, and some modern examples of animals that have half a wing. So I think that might be my next one. I'm also thinking about just doing like an intro to dinosaurs in general, because I feel like there's, like Kent Hovind, a lot of people can name a few things that are dinosaurs, but don't really know how to tell if an animal is a dinosaur except by convention. Like, oh, everyone calls this a dinosaur, so I guess it is.
It's a saurus, so I'm calling it a dinosaur.
Well, the thing is that actually doesn't work because there's an animal called Basilosaurus, right? It's so much not a dinosaur that it's a whale, literally.
Yeah, that's your first 56 videos is what the fuck is a goddamn dinosaur?
Yeah, it turns out that ending an animal whose name ends in saurus doesn't really cover it. So.
But then I can make up any dinosaur I want, like Magnets on My Faceosaurus or Steve McCraeosaurus. Like I can make up names for these animals, and then you can automatically picture what they look like a T-Rex with Steve's beard and long hair.
So Bob Knob asks a rather meta question: are you the Dapper Dinosaur, or is your avatar the Dapper Dinosaur?
Ooh.
So it's a little loose there. When I'm doing the scripted videos, I try to make it so that the Dapper Dinosaur is definitely the avatar. On these live streams, it's a little bit of both, honestly.
He's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
He's a dinosaur.
So yeah. I try to I try to at least follow the rules I have set out for my channel on live stream, where because the Dapper Dinosaur both is about the science and, is from 100 million years ago, doesn't care about modern politics or philosophy or religion. He doesn't get into any of those things. I care about those things personally as the guy who makes the videos. In some cases, I care a lot about some of them. But again,
it's getting too meta.
Yeah, I don't talk about that on my channel because this channel is about the science, and that's it. So Bob Knob asks, follow up, how long did it take you to design your dino? What software did you use, and did you use ray tracing? So this dinosaur went from box model to finished. Actually, I'm going to look at my channel because I put up a video not long after I first had it box modeled. So overall, it took probably about 2 months to go from I'm going to design a new model and start working on it right now to finished. I'm trying to think if I used anything but Blender for this, and I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I did all of the modeling, I know I did all the modeling and sculpting in Blender. I did the retopology in Blender, and if I remember correctly, I did all of the texture painting in Blender. Or no, I know I did all the texture texture baking in Blender, and I think I did all the texture painting in Blender, but I might have used a little bit of GIMP for that. So it's either all in Blender 3D or like 95% in Blender 3D.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So you see the dinosaurs in live streams? Yeah, kind of, basically. Does Dapper Dinosaur describe to the dinosaur killing asteroid notion? Generally, yes. Most of the non-avian dinosaurs almost certainly died as a result of an asteroid that hit what's now the Gulf of Mexico. It caused the Chicxulub crater. It's called the Chicxulub event. At this point, I feel like the preponderance of the evidence is so heavily in favor of that being the ultimate cause of the end Cretaceous extinction event that there's really no other viable hypothesis that's been put forth. Can you tell me, Dapper Dino has a top hat, and doesn't care about politics. He is this generation's Abraham Lincoln. Yes, I will take on that mantle. I am this generation's Abraham Lincoln. So I now declare that all the slaves which are not under my power to free are free, just like Abraham Lincoln did.
I was about to say.
Yep. So anywhere where I don't have the power to free slaves, I declare that all the slaves are free. There you go. I just did my own Emancipation Proclamation.
Trivia question for you. What cartoon coined the term Thagomizer?
I believe that was The Far Side.
Very good.
I was gonna say Garfield, the cat.
And who wrote The Far Side?
Oh, I don't remember his name. I'm sorry.
Gary Larson.
Okay, so that is actually.
Damn, you got okay. I'm impressed.
Yeah, so that actually is an interesting story. So the Thagomizer is what the spiky-ended tail of Stegosaurus is called. And the thing is,
Allosaurus had it too, didn't it?
No.
That's something.
Allosaurus did not, as far as we can tell, have a tail weapon. You might be thinking of
so it's just a Stegosaurus that had. Okay, Stegosaurus had the
spiky tails. Yeah, so it's actually a funny story because this Far Side cartoon comes out, and there's a picture of a Stegosaurus tail, and they say, we call this the Thagomizer after Thag, who got killed by one. And then scientists noticed they didn't actually have a term for this thing.
They adopted it, yeah.
So they just were like, screw it, we'll just call it that. It's in a cartoon.
What show was that?
It was the Far Side cartoon. It was a newspaper cartoon strip.
Yeah, it was just an informal term that they decided to adopt.
Yeah, they were just like, screw it, let's go with it. Let's see.
Us artists are the best at naming things.
Is that a PC fan I hear? It's actually probably just background noise from the hotel I'm in, because I'm in a hotel. Sorry.
Party.
Yeah, well, I'm here for work. At Dapper Dinosaur, what were the major points that caused you to no longer believe in creationism and accept evolution? So, one, I do have a video about this. It's called My History in Creationism. I recommend that you go check it out, because it goes into some bit of detail about my history being a creationist, coming out of that. But basically, the most important thing was I was always, as a kid, really interested in things like taxonomy and extinct animals and things like that. And so I found it fascinating, even as a kid, while a young Earth creationist, that we had all these little subcategories, and we could tell that, okay, ferrets are more like weasels than anything else, and that ferrets plus weasels are also really close to skunks and otters, and that ferrets and weasels and skunks and otters themselves are all really close to, say, seals and dogs and bears. And that all was really interesting to me. Like, what are all these little categories? And I wanted to know all of them. But it's hard to figure out how that squares with special creation, because when we look at things that are actually created by intelligences, they tend not to fall into these categories. So if you were to look at, say, all the cars, you could build classification schemes for them, but they wouldn't actually be nested in the same way. Two people could have mutually contradictory schema for classifying cars, and you couldn't objectively decide which one is better. You could say which one you like more, but you can't declare that one is better. And so that was probably the biggest thing that tipped me over into saying, yeah, evolution pretty much has to be true. And then there were other little things like, that helped push that, like ERVs, the deep homology and the structure of especially vertebrates, things like that. Are you going to attack the South with the North? Only if they... I will attack anyone who is a racist with the North, just like Abraham Lincoln. Yes.
If you are racist, I will attack you
with the North. Yep. Mm-hmm. Do you have a mission statement or general goals for your channel, or is this just for fun? So I have two main goals. One is I want to use creationist misunderstandings as a vehicle to teach anyone about the actual science involved. And so that's one of the common formats that my videos follow, is I'll share some clip or something of a creationist saying something wrong, and then I'll say, well, let's see what the actual science behind this is. So in that way, I guess it's kind of like Tony Reed's How Creationism Taught Me Real Science series, which is also excellent. Go check that out. But also, I want this to be something, especially with the scripted videos, that someone could show a creationist and say, look, this argument doesn't really work. And then the creationists can weigh and say, okay, maybe that's not a great argument. I don't think I'm going to, by myself, convert a whole lot of creationists to not be creationists, although apparently I do have an example of me having done that in the chat, so there's that. But or not in the chat, but in the live stream.
No comment.
Say hi. Yeah, exactly. But I would like it to be something that, yeah, if you have a creationist friend, or if you're a creationist yourself, you can look at this and say, okay, this is a reason why this argument from creationism doesn't really work, and here's some of the kind of the highlights, at least, of why that doesn't work. Do you feel some amount of responsibility to teach others specifically? I wouldn't call it an obligation or responsibility. I enjoy it. I like having people learn new things, and I like watching as people discover new stuff, and I think it's fun to help them find those things. Oh, and hello, Unidentified Leviathan. I don't know if you heard, but I answered your Herrerasaurus question. I hope you were here for it. Unidentified Leviathan is actually one of my creationist viewers, and so I really appreciate him because despite the fact that he disagrees with me on probably most things, I guess I can't say for certain, he is always cordial and polite and is not simply a contrarian.
Let me talk to him one day.
Hey, Unidentified Leviathan.
I'm cordial and polite, and I'm not a contrarian. Hi, Unidentified Leviathan.
Unidentified Leviathan.
Talk to me. Let's have lunch, coffee.
You should totally hit up Steve McRae. I would be interested in joining that conversation.
Sure, absolutely.
And while Steve's definitely a dick, I'm not. I might be able to moderate a little bit.
I just got done saying I'm a really nice guy, and you just screwed me over the bus. It's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't need your support and your
No, but I would say actually Unidentified Leviathan. Steve can be a bit of a dick, but he's actually usually pretty personable and
Who can't be? We all can be a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be a dick.
No.
We know.
And yeah.
No, hold on. Steve is the only one who says something that someone disagrees with, and then no one can
dick.
Yeah, that makes him a dick.
Right, their definition of dick is you disagree with me, therefore you're a dick. That's not really definition.
So Steve can never disagree with anybody because that makes him a bad person.
Exactly.
Everybody else disagrees, and they're good people. Whatever. Get the fuck out.
I don't get it, man. I don't.
Fuck out of here. Sorry.
Steve won't be mean to me, even when I ask him nicely too.
I know. What the heck, Steve?
I know she likes to.
Save it for Tuesday, lady.
It is Tuesday.
Yeah, it is Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Wait, are you on the flat Earth model or what? I mean, do you know where you're at? Is he a Hovind young Earth creationist or just a?
Well, so I don't know everything about Unidentified Leviathan's positions. I know that he came to my channel from Hovind's channel after seeing my debate. Which, by the way, if you haven't watched, I quite like it. I actually think it's one of the better debates that Ken Hovind has done. Now, I didn't say this, and I actually don't agree. I think this is actually incorrect. But I did have a comment saying that they thought that the debate was up there with Bill Ludlow. I actually think Bill Ludlow did a better job than I did. But that comment did actually get posted on my video, and I was like, I don't know about that, but thank you. So I will say that, yeah, if you haven't seen that debate, go check it out. It's
Dapper's humble bragging.
Yeah, basically. It's pretty good.
Brag.
You did amazing. You are the best.
Okay, so is there any remains from Proceratosaurus with third finger? And then it says on T-Rex. I'm not sure what those on T-Rex means. But as far as I know, we do have Proceratosaurus with 3 digits. Proceratosaurs probably all had 3 digits. We know Eutyrannus had 3 digits, which is taxonomically closer to Tyrannosaurus than Proceratosaurus. Dialong had 3 digits. Guanyuan had 3 digits. It's probably the case that the 2-digit condition occurred pretty far into Tyrannosaurian evolution. So, yeah, that's... but again, I would probably check the primary literature on that one rather than just trusting me, because, I mean, I'm not a professional paleontologist, so...
Yeah, but we hear and obey. Whatever you say, that's
okay.
That's how we roll.
No one can do a good job...
That's what I want to do to Steve, but he won't give me commands.
No one can do a good job debating someone like Kent. He doesn't follow the rules of debates and continuously spews fallacies. But see, My goal in debating Kent wasn't actually to get Kent to admit that he was wrong or to fix himself, because obviously that's never going to happen. But what it was to say, hey, look, so the topic was, are birds dinosaurs? And basically I wanted to show to at least some people in his audience, hey, this guy is really wrong and not very knowledgeable about some of the topics he talks about. And here's a clear example. Well, in one debate, I can't prove that he's not knowledgeable about all the topics he talks about. It would take too long. So I could discuss
his other science questions. I've gone through his creationist handbook, which was the 9th edition. It was a creationist called Arrival of the Fittest. It was a 9th edition.
Oh man, Arrival.
I've gone through that whole thing, and I've showed every scientific error that he made, and they're vast. And that's why I hope it is not an honest planer. Oh, I've done it online a couple times on videos.
Where?
One thing
on your channel, or
yeah, you just have to go find these videos. I have 1,000 videos. Don't expect me to tell the names of all of them. Come on.
The puddle fits.
I have gone through the Arrival of the Fittest before, on more than one occasion, and yeah, those claims. He literally knows he's lying. I mean, I'm convinced of it. I've talked to him dozens of times, and he is a con man. I don't think for a second he even cares one or another way or another if it's true or not.
I'm not as strongly opinionated about this one as Steve, but I do think that he at least knows that he's straw manning evolution.
Yeah, well, yeah,
and the Big Bang.
That means he's conning people. If he knows he's straw manning, he obviously doesn't care.
Yeah, I guess
he knows he's straw manning. He knows
so I guess what I mean is, yeah, he's a con man, but I'm not sure that he doesn't believe some of the stuff that he says. I think he probably.
I like how Aaron called him a snake oil salesman, and he tried to fucking sell that like he meant it literally.
Yeah, his reason for saying he's not a snake oil salesman is that there's no literal snake oil in his store. It's like, dude, even you can't think that that's what that means. It's
that's why he's a dumbass. I mean, he does these things on purpose. He's all rhetoric.
And his followers like cackling in the background like jackasses.
I know. They're like, ha ha ha, we don't have real snake oil. Ha ha ha. It's like, yeah, but
that
you're selling
annoying lady. I need to find out who that is.
Yeah, but you're selling cyanide to people.
Yeah, exactly.
As a cancer cure. So, I mean, maybe it's not literal snake oil, but it definitely falls under the colloquial term for snake oil.
Well, nobody thinks snake oil is actually selling actual snake oil. They know that term means something that is held to be something that has some kind of benefit to you or medicinal purposes that does absolutely nothing.
It's patent medicine.
Right, yeah. It's just woo medicine. It's just a colloquial term for that.
Well, as Tim Munson says, what they what they call alternative medicine that works, medicine.
Right, exactly. Once you can show it actually works, it just becomes medicine.
Mr. Dapper, I have to retire.
Mike, congratulations, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations, you have done a fine job. I'm glad you made it. 100 down, 100 to go, and then we'll get together again.
Well, I'm probably going to do one for 250.
40.
Well,
Mind your own damn business, Nikki.
I'm probably going to do one for 250, just so that these specials aren't too closely spaced. So I'm probably going to do 250, 500, 1,000 is probably what I'm going to do for subscriber number specials. So.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Oh, absolutely.
Why don't you just do? I would just do 500, 1,000. I mean, you get there pretty quick.
Well, I guess if I get there fast enough, then yeah. Like if it's like a month and I'm already at 250, I might not do a 250 just because I don't want to be monthly.
You're still getting people from the other day that we had.
I know. I'm actually. I think I'm at 265 right now. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, I told you within 24. Yeah. I don't know if I told you, but I've told people within 24 to 48 hours. That's when you notice. These things for call outs. So if we had a sub drive for you, should notice within 2 days that increase. And so looking at your numbers, they're still going up.
Yeah, they are. They went up by 5 today.
So when the Deviants has their sub drive, I expect to see Mr. Dapper Dino front row center.
I will be right there sending you subscribers, but right now I can't send you very many because there aren't that many.
When you hit 100,000, I swear to God, if you forget about this.
Right.
Son of a bitch. I'm kidding, but I've had people do that. I've had people that have like 60, 50, 60, 70,000 subs that were on my channel when they had 200.
Reds.
Oh, yeah, there is Reds.
Reds hasn't forgot about me, though.
No, he
hasn't.
hasn't.
Reds is scary.
I like Reds. Reds is nice.
Reds scares me.
Reds awesome.
The only thing that's scary the only thing that's scary about Reds is accidentally catching a glimpse of his face.
Which is horrifying.
Why is everybody so mean to Reds like that?
Because he's mean to himself.
Yeah, I mean, he wears the bag most of the time. You guys don't got to be so mean.
I mean, there's 12 states. It's against the law to stare him in the eyes.
You might literally and actually turn to stone.
But he's so aggressive and he takes zero shit and zero excuses.
And I get it. People think I'm the hard ass. I'm like, I modeled myself after Reds, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it. I'm never going to argue that Steve is more of a dick than Reds. But
thank you.
I will.
At least I lost the bar.
Reds is the lowest bar possible. Is at least he's nicer than Red's rhetoric.
But
oh my god!
But here's the thing, though. Red.
That's like saying at least I have my arms. My legs were blasted off.
Like, okay,
Okay, that was funny. Lack of laughter makes.
Sorry, I was trying to formulate a thought. So the type of people that I've responded to are like Kent Hovind, Jason Lyle, and Carl Baugh, who are pretty much all just dishonest con artists, but they're not dishonest and just obtuse to the extent of the people that Reds deals with. Like, that's a whole other level of crazy. And it's like the next level of crazy. I'm like, don't get me wrong, it's not like 18 levels away or anything. It's like the next level of crazy.
Well, it's like it's people like Kent are bad, but like some of the people that Reds goes up against, they're scary. Like, you know.
Do you know?
I don't know. Some of those people, they just have like horrible, like scary, like obsessive, like I will shoot you in the night vibes.
I don't know. I have a nickname for Carl Baugh. Carl Baugh, I call him the human who would fail the Turing test. Because whenever he talks, it is so far away from anything that one of the normal humans would consider communication that it's just hard to even figure out what his argument. I don't know how he's still alive.
Walking Dead. He's in his 80s. That guy's I think he was another person that knew he was.
I had a friend send me pictures from the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. I was a little jealous because I want to go and look
at the Creation Evidence Museum. Yeah. I want one of these days. I actually want to go.
I do too. And the thing is, his claims about his quote unquote artifacts are just
bizarre.
So bizarre. Yeah, it's like, this is a fossilized human finger. It's like, well, how do you know? It's like, well, because it's round and it's got an indent on one side. It looks like a fingernail. It's like, okay, but like, does it have an internal structure?
No.
Does it have fingerprints? I mean, like, what other than pareidolia would make you think that this is a finger?
Oh, it is pareidolia.
Right, exactly.
But same thing with the laying of the dinosaur eggs in rows. Like, oh, these dinosaurs were clearly laying their eggs as they ran from the fires from the global flood. What? So these people have to know they're lying. I'm sorry. Nobody's that stupid to believe.
But then the better question is like, okay, so many of the dinosaurs were laying eggs in rows as they were running because apparently
they came back. They're like running. Oh, I'm gonna come back and lay another egg because they were like 3 eggs. By 3 eggs.
Nope. Okay, but here's then the other question: what about the actual intact dinosaur nests in the fossil record where the eggs are laid in a nice little circle and there's a mound of earth all around them? In a layer that's in the middle of the flood. So did the flood stop? Then some dinosaurs stop running, come down onto the now not flooded ground, lay some eggs, then go away, and then the flood returned and somehow carefully preserved this dinosaur nest? Is that what we're going with?
Nothing about Carl Baugh, to me, was one of the most outlandish of all people in his claims. I mean, he's still alive. But yeah, I mean, him and it was Carl Baugh. And it was also Ian Juby. Remember?
Oh my goodness, Ian Juby. I'd forgotten about that guy.
Oh, yeah, well, he has been around forever. And in fact, we never could get him to come on. But Ian Juby was just
he had the creation hour or something.
Dumbass creationist, and yet he portrayed himself to be somebody that he wasn't. He portrayed himself to have credentials that he doesn't, like what Baugh does as well. And the only thing Ian Juby ever got right, I will give him this. He did it. He wrote for some creationist thing, and for the polystrate trees, he did actually acknowledge that these were not trees.
Well, that's good. Lycopods, yeah.
Yeah, and so lycopods are a type of club moss. And
so their closest relative is living relative is club moss. I would say they're not within that group.
Whatever, they're related to club moss. Don't fuck.
Hey, okay, this is a channel where taxonomy is very important.
Okay, it's still part of Lycopodia.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so lycopods, these are not types of trees, right? So
not really.
When Hovind's saying, well, these are trees over millions of, supposedly millions of years. No, they're not even strata. Those are mud layers from annual flood.
They're all in the same stratum.
Right, and so they formed over years, not millions of years. Yeah. They're all in the same strata, and they're not even trees. And so
it's the
he actually admitted that. He actually.
Well, that's good because Ian Jupe. Oh my goodness.
But other than that, he's got everything else wrong.
Oh man, I haven't consumed a lot of Ian Juby material, but what I've seen, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to touch this. This is just so bad.
He's so bad. Well, we need to find him. Whatever. I mean, he just kind of vanished.
I mean, maybe he's dead. I don't know.
No, I don't think he's dead.
I'd be fine with that.
He never didn't do any hangouts. He was very like solitary kind of creationist because he knew anytime he did, he would get his ass handed to him.
Well, he could also be like one of those people who's not a big fan of doing like. There are legitimate reasons to be uncomfortable with appearing live on air with an audience as opposed to having a script and stuff. Like I can see.
It's not easy. People think this is easy. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not. I when you first invited me on, Steve, I was kind of like, that sounds fun, or it sounds terrifying, and I'm not sure which one it's going to be.
You get used to it after a while.
Yeah,
first time sucks though. I mean, I remember that first stream, and I'm just like thinking, people are watching. I don't like this. This is weird.
I'm always amazed that anyone watches my live streams. Like, honestly, thank you to every single person out there who's currently in the audience, because I don't know if I would watch me.
I like this kind of topical stuff. Yeah, the passive aggressive. I see this where he's what is it? Humble bragging. I don't know. He's just fishing now.
I really. It really is the case that every time someone's like, "Oh, you have good content," or "I like watching you," or something. Thanks, Bob Knob, for also being amazing. Bob Knob is also someone I know IRL. He's also a nuke. Or
how the hell do you? I went like 20 years without running into a freaking nuke, and now I know 5 or 6 of them. What the hell?
Yeah, but no, what it really is, I'm usually my own harshest critic. Like, I find every little freaking thing wrong with everything, and I beat myself up over it. And then when people come by and like, oh no, this was a great whatever video or live stream, I'm like, really? You like that? Like, for reals? And then people are like,
my trash?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I really do appreciate that people actually like this, because like I said, if I didn't have that positive feedback, I probably would have quit.
Why didn't you stick with nuke stuff after getting out with all that education? Why'd you get into dinosaur stuff?
Well, I was always into dinosaur stuff. Oh. This isn't a new thing.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Plus, my job is a bit more connected to what I did as a nuke. So I'm in the electrical field. But this isn't my job, or at least it isn't right now. I guess it could be someday. But this is kind of a for fun thing. Like, I want to talk about these topics because they interest me and I find them fascinating. Like, I don't really read up on nuclear power in my free time. But in my free time, I do read, things like academic papers describing the new Plateosaurus find or whatever. So,
well, I guess I can understand that. I got a lot more into philosophy.
Exactly.
I mean, nuke stuff is whatever, but I mean,
Oh, Luca.
I go look it up. I mean, but who's going to ask me? Hey, Steve, can you tell me what a delayed nuke precursor is, or can you tell me what beta bar is for uranium 235? Not questions I typically get asked.
Exactly. And Luca here is watching at 4:24 a.m. So yeah, Luca, you're in Italy, right? I think. I don't know if that counts as, if that's doxing, then just say no, or I don't know if it's not true, say no. So now we don't know. But if it is true and it doesn't count as doxing, then let me know by saying yes. So if you say no, either it's not true or you just don't want to be doxed. We can't tell. Or say yes. Or just say nothing because I'm a jerk. And then Bob Knob says, why didn't I want to stay in nuclear power? Because I didn't want to hate life for the rest of my life.
You ain't kidding. You ain't kidding, man.
Yeah. I know a lot of nukes who are like, nope, not going to keep doing nuclear power. Just not going to do it.
Yeah, but the money was good.
Yeah, but money isn't everything.
Yeah, those are the people that say that that actually have money.
No, I could have more money.
I'm glad I didn't. I mean, I know people that made really good money because of their nuke training, but I mean, I was done with it. I was like,
no. The puddle fits 326 in the UK. Man, see, this is what I'm talking about. There are people who are watching me on a Tuesday in the wee hours of the morning. And I wouldn't do that for me. Are you kidding me? I'd be asleep. I'd be long asleep by this point. So that really is really nice for me to it's a good confirmation that what I'm doing is at least worthwhile. I should keep going with it because there are people who like it enough to be up at crazy hours to watch it. So, I appreciate that. And I know it's a bit humble braggy, but it really is true. Without people doing things like that, I would have stopped.
Dude, it's not humble bragging. Look, I am thrilled every time I do a stream that people are watching, and if I have 70 people watching, or I have 800 people watching,
or 22,
it makes it's still, you're putting yourself out there. It is weird when you have a couple thousand people watching.
Oh,
I'm like that. When first time I hit those kind of numbers, I was like, this is make sure I don't pick my nose, or something.
Well, see, I don't have to worry about that. I'm not on camera.
Well, eventually, one day, no, you will. Trust me, you'll be on streams where you have a couple hundred people, maybe 1,000 people watching.
Right, but if I pick my nose, they won't know.
Oh, that's true.
Ew.
Yeah.
You can reach your nose?
Hear it.
Yeah, how do you do that with the little stubby things?
Well, first of all, Steve, get your palms in the right orientation. Facing each other.
I know how to orient. I know how to orient. Trust me, okay.
Not to be a dinosaur, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
You got that weird. You got that weird mammal flexible wrist thing. Oh, hey.
What are you trying to say? I got flexible wrist. What are you trying to say?
Bull's here. Bull, why aren't you?
Microaggression.
Yes, it's an anti-mammal microaggression, but also Bool's in the chat, and Bool, if you want to, you're welcome in.
And one nerd versus.
Oh yeah.
There is no Bool, only
God,
Zool.
You got all the cool people over here.
I know. Yeah, tweet to people to say, hey, come check out Dapper Dino stuff. He's got videos about things like Carl Baugh and Jason Lyle and Wings.
He does things with stuff, guys.
I want to get Jason Lyle on.
Jason Lyle? Oh, that would be cool. Oh, if you get Jason Lyle on, have me on, because I have bones.
But I also would have like Dr. Kroon or.
Oh well, yeah. People who actually know what they're talking about.
I couldn't like Humphreys at one time said he was going to come on, but he decided to write a paper for the Journal Creation instead. But at least he mentioned.
Sorry. What software are you using? Those guys
still come on often. I talked to them all. I've corresponded with Austin. I've corresponded with Humphreys, and Lyle's one of the very few I haven't corresponded with.
All right, so we have a question. Where is software? What software are you using to run this stream? Is it possible to animate Dapper D in the photo? So, I am running the stream with Zoom and OBS. That's Open Broadcaster software. It would be possible to animate the Dapper Dinosaur on the left of the screen that's in the desert if I made it a GIF, but I didn't really have time for that. I'm looking actually into some VR options to make an animated Dapper Dinosaur avatar that works in real time. It wouldn't be as high quality as what you're looking at now in terms of like realism, but it would still be real time, and it would move more or less the way that you would expect it to. So I'm looking at a few VR applications that could make that happen, and how to import characters to those programs from outside programs like Blender 3D, which is what I made this with. So that is a possibility. It's not
a Blender Hangout.
A Blender Hangout?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Blender 2.8 just dropped. I would totally be down to explore Blender 2.8, show people how to make objects in 3D, how to do stuff.
Let's do it.
It would have to probably be on the weekend when I can have my more powerful computer that can handle it. And it probably couldn't be the next 2 weekends. Yeah, your computer can handle it?
Oh, yeah. This thing's a beast.
Okay.
I have never had a computer like this.
That's what you spend your money on? Well, Steve, go download.
Actually, I had a bot from me, but that's okay.
Remember,
I'm not allowed to say who bought it. The only thing I can say is, quote, the person who bought it for me is somebody who's extremely famous in the entertainment business. That's all I can say.
And yeah, Dave McGinnis is right. 2.8 has made some good changes. I'm especially excited about the new render engine, which is a real-time render engine that is, it can get pretty close to photorealism if you push it. Oh yeah, it's Team Skeptic Avatar. I love that thing. That would be the kind of program I'd probably use to get a live action, or not live action, but like live in response Dapper Dinosaur character. Bob Knob says, Steve just doxed me. I'm super famous in the biz. Apparently, Bob Knob is the one who created your computer there, Steve. I feel like that might be a lie, but I also feel like if Bob Knob knew you in real life, I would probably have already know about that, because I know Bob Knob in real life. So, yeah. So that's more of a long-term thing. Like, that's not an immediate goal. I'm fine with having a still avatar for now. The animated Dapper Dinosaur is something I really like doing. It's fun. It's a bit time-consuming, but I'm hoping that will be less the case now that Blender 2.8 is out. And yeah, Steve, if you want to do a hangout about teaching Blender, like, have you ever used it?
Yeah, I use Blender.
Okay.
McGinnis wants the link. I'm gonna give it to him. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I use Blender. I'm not good at it, but I've done some rendering in Blender tutorial. I just follow the tutorials and stuff. So I definitely understand the concepts.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, this Dapper Dinosaur
program at all.
No, not very. But then again, I like it because it's free and it can do just about anything. So, but yeah, this Dapper Dinosaur that you see in my videos and as still images here and there, all done in Blender 3D from initial concepts all the way to final textured and animated model, all done in Blender 3D. So it's, and this is me actually bragging. I think it's a really freaking great dinosaur.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah,
I can't. So, I haven't figured out how to use Blender for drawing yet. I just use it for my 3D modeling.
What do you 3D model?
I don't know this stuff. I don't know. I'll give you. Like I said, I just follow the tutorials, but I'll send you some videos of the ones. Like, well, no, I didn't do that one in Blender. But I did do, like, on the non sequitur show. You know that the dumpster with the fire coming out of it.
Oh, that was you in
Res Rhetoric logo that gets burned in the side.
Yeah,
I made that with CGI.
Dave's here. What's up, Dave?
Hey,
Dave. You have to have some kind of question about dinosaurs or something, right? What did you always want to know about dinosaurs?
Where are the feathers on your damn dino? Why is it so skinny?
That is so actually, this is a fairly thick dino in terms of a lot of dinosaur reconstructions. Actually, honestly,
we prefer the term big boned. It's more political.
Well, I was going with thick with 2 C's. I don't know.
He got that booty dog.
That dino got some booty.
So actually,
I'd fuck that dinosaur.
So Ceratosaurus is part of a group of theropods that we actually have some fairly extensive skin impressions for, and they don't show any evidence of feathers or proto-feathers, and they're outside the group that actually ended up developing true feathers. So
they just all died when they were molting.
Well, that's possible, I suppose, but to answer your question, the most likely reconstruction for this group of dinosaurs, called Ceratosaurids or Ceratosauroids, depending on exactly which group you're talking about, is actually to not have feathers. So, so Illuminati Dawn, I almost forgot to ask, do you think Yi-Chi can fly? So, in case you guys don't know, Yi-Chi is a Scansoriopterid dinosaur, which I believe is from the late Jurassic Gishan formation in China. Some of that might be a little bit off, mostly because of all this Lagavulin. But it had membranous wings that superficially looked like those of a bat. It had its second and third digits were incorporated into the wing. The third digit was the main wing support, and then it had a carpal bone that extended posteriorly from the wrist to form another strut that supported the wing membrane. If you look at the skeleton, it doesn't look like it has enough locations for muscle attachment to really be a powered flyer. So my guess would be that it was probably a proficient glider, but that it probably was incapable of adding energy to its flight through its own wings. And so in the absence of thermals, it could not stay aloft indefinitely. So it was probably a glider, is basically where that goes to. The feathers fell back off. It's science, yeah. Ceratosaurus had feathers, but they fell back off. That's definitely it. How do I feel about Saurian? So, I actually, Bob Dobb, I think both of us are backers. I know Benthoven is also a backer for Saurian. Saurian has been, sorry, it's been a little slow with updates, but I really appreciate their dedication to accuracy in terms of the science. And Saurian, in case you guys don't know, is a video game that's currently in early access on Steam. It's fairly inexpensive. It's a Unity game. It's not well optimized, so do not turn the graphics up to maximum setting because it will bake your computer into dust. Just don't do it. But that being said, it's a really I really appreciate the dedication to accuracy in terms of the dinosaur models and their behaviors, and even the plants are all based on actual plants that we know of from the Hell Creek Formation. It's basically a recreation of the ecosystem of the Hell Creek Formation as it existed at its end stages. Currently, the only playable animal is Dakota Raptor, but they're working on Triceratops. That will probably be in the next one or two updates.
I thought I muted the second time.
Whoops. Triceratops will probably be out in the next update or the one after that. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be fun to be a Triceratops. And then after that, I believe they're going to look into What was going to be next after that? I think is it Tyrannosaurus after that, or is it? Oh, I think they're going to do Pachycephalosaurus after Triceratops, then Tyrannosaurus, then they're probably going to move on to Ankylosaurus, then Anzu. Okay. Yeah, so Bob Knob, his name, Bob Knob's name is in the Saurian credits. That's how he became famous and built Steve's computer without him knowing. That makes sense.
Have you fully switched over to 2.8 on Blender yet?
I haven't actually. To fully switch over, I was waiting until the release candidate turned into a release version, and that was today, as far as I know. And I got off of work without enough time to really download it on my crappy hotel Wi-Fi. So that is something I'm going to be saving for after the stream, is to download that onto this laptop. I'll download it onto my PC, my desktop PC, probably Friday, but I probably won't get to play with it much for the next week and a half.
Yeah, if you're really used to Blender, it's going to take some adjustment because they've changed all the keyboard shortcuts and stuff are different now.
I can change the keyboard shortcuts back.
You can.
I probably will.
You're now going to have to go and take time to do that. Actually, the new shortcuts make more sense than the old ones. But
Is G still my translate button?
Yeah, I do believe.
Okay, well that was the unimportant one for me. The G is my translate button. One Nerd VS says, who would win, humans versus dinosaur? Well, that depends strongly on which dinosaur we're talking about.
And which humans?
Well, yeah, I think it actually depends more strongly on which dinosaur. Like, okay, so you come across a wild Alvarezsaurus. It wants to fight. I don't care what human you are, you're going to win that. Because that thing is about the size of a chicken, it only has one claw, and it probably doesn't have very big teeth because it primarily ate ants and termites. You would win that fight. I don't care who you are. Yep. You could be, the Black Knight from Monty Python, where you don't have arms or legs. Just roll over onto it. You will crush it, I promise.
Fall on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it depends mostly on which dinosaur we're talking about. But then in the middle there, where we have things like a Thescelosaurus, who's going to win the fight? A human or a Thescelosaurus? Yeah, that's going to depend on the human. Yeah. So basically,
first example, definitely the human wins. Obviously, I mean those little guys are almost as helpless as the puppies Steve kicks.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would go with this as a rule of thumb. If the dinosaur weighs 70% or more than you, chances are the dinosaur is going to win. Otherwise, I think you have a pretty good shot. Who would win in a debate, Kent Hovind or a dinosaur? Well, we already know the answer to that, and the answer is obviously the dinosaur. And if you don't believe me, go watch either my debate on my channel, or if you really want to, you can watch it on Kent's. Unfortunately, Kent's version of the debate has better audio, so there is that. Kent's version of the debate, I believe, is called Debate, and I think he goes with Timothy for my name. That's not doxing; it's out there in public. My real name's Timothy.
Which was kind of rude because you told him.
No, I told him what my name was, and I didn't tell him specifically not to use it. It's fine. What was more rude was his questions about my religious positions after I had told him on the phone, both when initially setting up the debate and before the debate went live, that I wasn't going to discuss that. That was the rude part.
Why would he respect you? He doesn't respect anybody.
I mean, I agree. It was...
Hovind lies, okay?
Right.
This is say it. He does. We had that experience with him bullshitting and outright lying about his narrative about like he was supposed to come on the show and all that other stuff. He made stuff up, and we caught him red-handed. I mean,
luckily we record all the pre-shows.
Well, that's how all of this came out, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but specific people didn't know they were going to be recorded. So.
Well, I don't want to get into any of that legal stuff because that's above my pay grade. So we'll leave that.
I'm a good lawyer.
Absolutely. But I'm not going to touch on it because you know what I don't want is to be involved in the legal aspects of this.
I'm going to touch.
Are you sure? If you got the right suit for that dino, they could make a pretty good
That's what we need. We need a lawyer procedural, all dinosaurs.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
It could be a sequel to the 90s show Dinosaurs.
Yep, except it should just be 100% subtitled, and all the dinosaurs should just make weird
roar at each other. Well, if there's one thing we learned from the 2019 Lion King, it's that photorealistic animals are maybe not the way to go when you're trying to convey story and character and emotion.
Was it bad? I haven't seen it yet. Is it bad?
Well, okay. Have you ever seen a lion in real life?
Yes.
Did it look like it had a lot of facial expressions other than I'm angry?
A little bit.
A little bit, but not as much as, say, your average ape?
No.
And even less than a normal human.
Eyebrows like they were able to add in the cartoon.
Right.
And things.
So that's the thing. Because these are photorealistic lions, except for the fact that none of them have genitalia. Maybe they skipped on that. So except for that aspect where they're extremely unphotorealistic, all of the animals in the movie just can't emote. They don't. Yeah, they don't look surprised. They don't look sad. They don't look horrified. Sometimes they look angry.
Yeah, but they're animals. They're not really supposed to.
But that's the thing.
Want to see.
But they're supposed to be telling a story.
Right. You're supposed to be.
It doesn't matter. Like we know the story, so why do we need
Nikki,
sorry.
bring it down a little bit. Oh my God,
Nikki just
a high level of audio that destroys my upper range hearing.
So much clipping.
So much clipping in that high range.
Okay, so
I get excited.
Here's the thing, Nikki, right? They're not animals. They're cartoon animals that are acting like humans.
Yeah.
Right? When you want to tell... And there's the story that's being told is fundamentally a human story because animals don't actually have stories like this. Right? So, so for instance, in a real lion pride... Sometimes two brothers, in fact, do end up in the same pride. But here's the thing. They both share all of the responsibilities of the male lion in the pride, which is basically just the sex.
They also do take care of the cubs in some respect.
Right. They do help with some of the cub rearing. But here's the other thing.
Don't describe zoology to me. That's the
you don't
only
need to
thing.
yell.
Right.
It's
take
very
it down.
hard on my ears, seriously.
But here's the other thing. If one of those lions wants to become sole ruler of the pride, yeah, he'll kill the other lion. But then his next step is just to kill all the cubs. And then you know what happens with all the females? They don't go, "Oh no, you killed my baby." No, they just go into heat because now they're not nursing or pregnant.
Yeah.
Horrifying. That's what would actually happen in a real lion pride. So clearly what happens in The Lion King is not a real story about lions. It's a story about people, and we're just pretending that they're lions because it's fun. But when you try to do that story with hyper-realistic lions, it just becomes weird. Because they look like lions, but they don't look enough like people that we can relate to them.
Kind of like this uncanny valley thing, right? Like it's not quite that, because it's not, but it's like in this weird thing where it just doesn't quite translate.
And yeah, Maya is right. The moral of the story is when you anthropomorphize animals, goddamn it, commit. Yeah, make them enough anthropomorphized that the story still makes sense.
Yeah, I love how everybody was like shocked at Timon or Pumbaa, because warthogs are scary in real life. They're terrifying.
Bob Knob actually asked a good question about Kent. Was he belittling and insulting on the phone as well, or did he wait until you were under pressure live? So actually, he was pretty polite on the phone, I thought. He wasn't antagonistic. He went through a lot of his spiel that he usually does, and I tried to deflect a lot of it because I was thinking, like, hey, save it for the debate, right? But, no, he was actually pretty polite and personable on the phone. I've called him twice, or maybe 3 times, and he's been pretty polite on the phone. I don't know if that's been your experience, Steve.
Yeah, he's okay on the phone. His secretary is better, but...
his secretary was just... Rhonda was I would describe her as kind of bubbly.
Yeah, she's nice. I mean, we used to talk all the time, but eventually, we just kind of faded away. But
right.
I had hope for her that she would eventually realize she's in a bad place.
I would like to think that she'll figure that out, but I don't know.
I doubt it. She's pretty brainwashed.
Yeah. Which is too bad, because I only had, as far as I remember, 1 or 2, probably just 1 conversation with Rhonda, but she seemed really, really nice. So.
Yeah, she is really nice.
Yeah. Kent doesn't actually just come across as some kind of asshole. He really doesn't.
But
It's Yeah, like if you talk to him on the phone or if you visit Dinosaur Adventureland, you're not going to come away thinking that this guy is a jerk. I don't know if that's because he's good at acting like he's not a jerk, or if it's because he actually genuinely doesn't act like a jerk and doesn't want to. Like, I don't know how much of that is an act and how much of it is genuine. But in the end, yeah, if you go interact with Kent Hovind, he's probably not going to act like a jerk in any way that people would obviously recognize as a jerk until you get to the point like he was at the end of the Aaron Ra discussion, where Aaron... I'm not going to fault Aaron, but Aaron was antagonistic enough to get a rise out of Kent.
Well, I mean, I kind of like that approach. Well, I mean, everybody probably did, but like, it comes to a certain point where he's debated enough people that somebody just needs to like rake him across the coals. I just wish that we could do it in a way that he can't just bail on. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just want somebody to just tear him a new just asshole, like for real.
well, he already had that in prison.
So, yeah, I don't know. I understand the approach of getting Kent Hovind to yell at you and call you a moron and all that, because it really doesn't make him look good. But on the other hand, I had positive feedback from his audience when I went in respectfully. And that's one of the things I was hoping to get, was to get some of his audience to say, hey, this guy, maybe I don't agree with him, but he's at least worth checking out because he's not just a jerk. And I think there's reason to go for both approaches. So, let's see. I read a few articles. This is from Illuminati Dawn. I read a few articles about baby pterodactyls could fly from birth. Do you think this is exaggerated or true? So first, I'm going to say pterodactyl is not the technical term. I'm going with pterosaurs, but pterodactyl is a pretty decent colloquial name. You know, like with most animals, tiger isn't actually the scientific name of the animal, but whatever. Just call it that. I don't care. But
Panthera tigris.
Yeah, Panthera tigris is or tigris, or I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce all those I's. Also, that reminds me, my rule of thumb for scientific pronunciation is pronounce all the consonants and all the vowels, but exactly which value you give them, whatever.
Speaking of pronunciation, since some birds can talk and figure out human words, or at least imitate them, do you think any of the dinosaurs would have had the same capability?
I will answer that after I talk about precocial pterodactyl, or pterosaurs. I think it's still a bit early to say that there were pterosaurs that could fly from birth. We don't have a lot of pterosaur eggs. In fact, we have very few, far fewer than we do dinosaur eggs. Probably because they were soft-shelled eggs, so they're harder to preserve. I am interested. I think some of the arguments for flight ability early on in pterosaur ontogeny is interesting, but I am not willing to say that I think it's likely. I still think it's unlikely, but it's an interesting hypothesis.
Hey, I'm going to be bugging out here.
All right. Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate it.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to make some travel arrangements, and it's getting a little...
Hey, that's important stuff.
So, all right, this was great. Hey, Dapper, appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And you'll get there pretty quickly. Trust me.
I hope so. All right, bye, Steve.
Yeah, guys.
Bye, Steve.
All right, and so David, what was your actual question?
Could dinosaurs potentially talk or imitate?
Oh, okay.
Birds do?
So one of the problems is that the organ that birds use to do this is called a syrinx, and it's all soft tissue, just like your voice box is. And so it doesn't preserve very well. So it's hard to figure out where in the dinosaur family tree this actually evolved. As far as I know, all modern birds have a syrinx. So it probably predates aves as a class, but by how much is hard to say. So the most likely candidates for being able to have speech would be the what is it? Deinonychosauria. Deinonychosauria includes birds, troodontids, and dromaeosaurs, which are the raptors, like Velociraptor, Utah raptor. Those are the ones that have the highest chance, but as far as I know, there's no hard evidence for a syrinx in any of those groups other than actual birds. So...
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
It's just, gotta wonder.
Yeah, I do need a. So the real problem with this whole CPU fan is basically that I'm using my stupid mic, laptop mic because I keep traveling for work, so I'm never actually near my PC that has a good mic when it's not the weekend. Sorry. There's not a whole lot I can do about that, unless I just get a new job, which means, hey, go subscribe, get me to 1,000 so I can monetize things and get super chats. That's the solution, is get me to 1,000 subscribers. There you go. And then I'll be able to do things like afford better microphones and to stay home more.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would like to turn off the fan and just blow on it, but I don't think there's an off switch for it on my laptop. Sorry, Bob. Well, thank you for the sub, one nerd vs who says, "Oh well, I already subscribed a while ago, buddy." I appreciate that, and yeah, I really am sorry about the audio quality on this. I try not to do audio stuff with this laptop, but sometimes it can't be avoided. So, so does anyone have any other questions? Because we've been going almost 2 hours, so.
What does a dinosaur actually sound like? I heard that they have theories, but I've never heard of.
Yeah, there are various hypotheses. Roaring is a particularly mammalian thing, so they probably didn't roar, even though it's cool to hear dinosaurs roar.
Yeah, but, I want them to all be songbirds. They just all tweet.
Well, that's the other thing, is that the tweet also comes from the syrinx, so it's hard to say whether or not they sound like that either. But what we can say is, if you look at the most primitive birds, which are the paleognathe birds, like the emu and the ostrich, and also gallo-enceroforms, like chickens, ducks, geese, those are the most primitive birds. So there's probably some similarity in the sounds that those animals made. So, but again, that's all very speculative because we don't have any good hard evidence on it. I think we have time for one more, and then I'm going to call it a night. So anyone have a quick question?
What do dinosaurs think about pineapple on pizza?
Dinosaurs are against, but not strongly.
Okay. I figured you would know since you're a dinosaur, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So,
how do they feel about?
So as a dinosaur.
Hold on. Padme hasn't really gone so well. I'm going to give it to Padme.
Yeah, thank you. Finally. Anyways, since you're a dinosaur, if you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
Yes. All right.
Thanks.
And David, if it's quick enough, I'll go for it.
That.
Yeah.
How do they feel about pizzas on pineapples?
Oh, pizzas on pineapples? Totally pro.
They weren't psychopaths, so they didn't get pineapples on pizza.
All right.
So I don't know what Dapper's talking about because
Nikki, I'm gonna have to go off air soon. We're in seconds now. So thank you very much, Maya. Please come back on. Put a comment in the description or on the video, and I will answer your question. Anyone else who has questions, put it in the comments, and I will definitely get to those questions. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, but we got to get going. Good night.